Hi, and welcome back. In this video, part 3 of the series, we focus on growing the Raglan yoke. This is where the sweater really begins to take shape and expand to fit the body. The yoke is the upper portion of the sweater that sits across the shoulders and chest, and in a Raglan design, it's shaped by diagonal lines that grow outward from the neckline. From there, we'll move on to separating the sleeves from the body. I'll show you how to place the sleeve stitches on hold while the remaining stitches form the body of the sweater. Finally, we'll cast on stitches at the underarm to join the front and back of the sweater and begin working the body in the round. Let's get started. To work the Raglan yoke, we'll alternate between one increase round and one regular round. My first round is an increase round, and I'm using make one left and make one right stitches. So I'm simply working these increased stitches on either side of each of the 4 Raglan stitches on my needles. These Raglan stitches are marked with stitch markers to make them easy to identify. Here, as I approach the next Raglan stitch, I work an increase, then slip the stitch marker, then knit the Raglan stitch, slip the other stitch marker, and work another increase on the opposite side. Then I just keep knitting around until I come to the next set of stitch markers, which indicate the next Raglan stitch. As you knit toward the next Raglan stitch, you'll come across the German short row stitch created during the neckline shaping. You can identify it because it appears as a doubled stitch. Simply knit into it as you would a regular stitch to fully incorporate it into the fabric. Because there are 4 Raglan stitches, this increase round adds 8 stitches, 2 at each Raglan stitch. The Raglan stitch itself is always knit. I'll continue working around the yoke, repeating the same increase sequence at each Raglan stitch. This part can feel repetitive, but that repetition is what creates the clean, even shape of the yoke. Once I reach the end of round marker, the increase round is complete, and a total of 8 stitches have been added. The following round is a regular round, worked without any increases. You'll simply knit all stitches as they present, which helps stabilize the fabric and gives the yoke its clean, even structure. Just as before, you'll slip over the stitch markers as they appear and knit each Raglan stitch. Once the yoke has been worked to the length called for in the pattern, it's time to separate the sleeves from the body. We'll slip the live sleeve stitches onto scrap yarn to be held for later, allowing us to focus on knitting the body of the sweater. First, remove your stitch marker and knit the Raglan stitch. It will be incorporated into the body stitches and not the sleeve stitches. Thread a tapestry needle with a length of scrap yarn long enough to hold all of the sleeve stitches. Then carefully slip all the live sleeve stitches onto the scrap yarn. It's best to use scrap yarn in the same weight and category as your sweater yarn, so the stitches are held comfortably without distortion. For this step, all the stitch markers will be removed. You'll keep moving the sleeve stitches onto the scrap yarn until all sleeve stitches are held and you're back at the body stitches. Once all of the sleeve stitches are on the scrap yarn, it will look something like this. You'll notice that the next Raglan stitch was not placed onto the scrap yarn. Raglan stitches are always worked with the body stitches, not the sleeves. So now we'll join across this gap and begin working the body stitches. To do that, we first need to cast on additional stitches at the underarm. You'll refer to your pattern instructions to see exactly how many stitches to cast on for this step. I recommend using the single cast on method. Next, we'll join in the round. If you want to join in the round using the invisible join technique, which I recommend, you'll cast on 1 extra stitch before working this technique. slip the first stitch from the left needle onto the right, then lift the first stitch on the right needle up and over it. Now the round is joined. From here, you'll remove the next set of stitch markers you come to and knit across the body of the sweater. When you reach the other sleeve, remove those stitch markers as well, knit the raglan stitch, since it's always worked with the body stitches, and then follow the same steps as before, slipping all of the sleeve stitches onto scrap yarn. Just as before, once all of the sleeve stitches have been placed on scrap yarn, you'll cast on the required number of underarm stitches, whatever your pattern calls for, and then join in the round once more. I'm now casting on the number of stitches my pattern specifies using this single cast on. Here, I'm about to join again using the invisible join technique. Remember to cast on one extra stitch for this method. At this point, I'll knit across the other side of the sweater body until I reach the end of the round. For this particular pattern, the end of the round is located underneath one of the sleeves. You can either place a new end of round stitch marker there or keep using your original one. You've now finished dividing the sleeves and body. From here on, the rest of the sweater is very straightforward and one of the most relaxing parts of the process. You'll simply knit in the round across the body of the sweater, following the stitch pattern specified in your pattern. In this case, I'm knitting a stockinette sweater, which means I'll knit every stitch of every round. You'll refer to your pattern instructions to determine the intended body length, but one of the great perks of a top-down raglan is that you can try the sweater on as you go and adjust the length to your liking before moving on. After you've finished knitting the body of the sweater, the next step is to look at the hem, which is where you'll switch to the ribbing to finish the sweater with a clean, structured edge. Most sweaters, though not all, are finished with some type of ribbed hem, commonly a 1x1 rib, a 2x2 rib, or a slight variation of those. In this case, I'm working a half-twisted rib for the hem, just like at the neckline. That means I'll knit one through the back loop, then purl, and repeat that sequence all the way around. Now that the hem is knit to the length specified in the pattern, it's time to bind off. There are many different ways to bind off a sweater, with some methods being more complicated than others. To keep things simple, I'm going to talk through two of the easiest bind-off options. The one I'll show here is binding off in pattern, which means you'll knit or purl each stitch as it appears in the ribbing while binding off. So I'll start by knitting the first stitch, since it's a knit stitch, then purling the next stitch because it's a purl stitch. I'll then pass the first stitch over the second to bind one stitch off. From there, I simply continue in the same way, working each stitch as it appears in the ribbing, knitting the knit stitches and purling the purl stitches, and binding off as I go until I reach the end of the round. Binding off in ribbing keeps the hem stretchy and comfortable. It also creates a clean finish that flows naturally from the ribbing. This bind-off method is simple, reliable, and works well for most sweaters. It's an easy way to finish your hem without overcomplicating the process. But an even easier way to finish the hem is a basic bind-off, where you simply knit each stitch and pass the previous stitch over without working in the ribbing pattern. This creates a clean, straightforward edge and works well if you prefer a simpler finish. Now that the hem is finished, you can break the yarn and your sweater is officially complete. In the next video, we'll move on to the sleeves. We'll cover how to pick up and cast on stitches at the underarm, then work the sleeves in the round, and also how to shape them with tapered decreases, and finally finish them with ribbed cuffs. Until then, I hope you enjoy seeing your sweater come together, and thank you for knitting along with me.